Attention, Bears Nation! Tim Patrick, the same one Ben Johnson molded in Detroit, is in the spotlight. To replace Keenan Allen? Yes, the guy who broke twice and came roaring back. But beware, can a $1.1 million WR3 fill the 1,200-yard void? This is Ryan Poles' bet, cheap veteran versus investing in a star. Would you accept this move or demand a big name for Caleb Williams? The first offseason bombshell is here. TJ Edwards, the lone wolf of Chicago, just made 129 tackles. But the defense is still sinking. A hero in a sea of chaos or a sign that the defense system is rotten? At 30 years old and with a $7 million contract, the question is clear. Do they tie him down with gold now or risk him demanding $15 million in 2025? This is not football. This is high-stakes poker. Aaron Jones, the Packers' executioner, could switch sides. The man who destroyed them for years. Now in blue and orange? 1,100 yards in 2024, thirst for revenge against Green Bay, and a bargain price. But danger, 30 years old, an uncertain offensive line, and a streak that could collapse. Is Ryan Poles betting on poetry? Or falling into madness? Subscribe or stay in the dark, Bears Nation. This video will give you all the keys, but only if you're in the game. Bears family, listen up because the free agency wind is blowing in Chicago, and I've got a boom of information that's going to shake Soldier Field. What do you say about these rumors that the Bears would steal Tim Patrick from the Lions to replace Keenan Allen? Yes, as you heard. Ben Johnson just arrived and is already building his army. Could Patrick be his first soldier? I'm telling you right now, there's a smell of movement in Hallis Hall. First, let's lay the cards on the table. Tim Patrick is a 31-year-old veteran that Ben Johnson knows like the back of his playbook. The numbers? 33 receptions, 394 yards, and 3 touchdowns last season in Detroit. Nothing special? Of course not. But here's the trick. This man clawed his way back from the hell of 2 terrible injuries. A torn ACL in 2022, an Achilles tendon rupture in 2023. 2 years out, 2 reconstructions, and the guy came roaring back. What does that tell you? Character, drive, and an engine that doesn't quit. Now, the big question, is Patrick enough to fill Keenan Allen's void? Don't make me laugh. Allen put up 1,243 yards last year. Patrick, in his best season in Denver, 2021, reached 734. See the difference? But beware, this move isn't about numbers, it's about context. Ben Johnson brings his system, and if Patrick already masters it, it reduces the learning curve. And guess what? Patrick cost only $1.1 million last year. We're talking about a cheap WR3 that doesn't demand luxuries. But here comes the giant problem. Chicago cannot afford to wait for miracles. If Allen leaves, they need a number one, not a backup plan. DJ Moore is solid, Rome Odunze is a diamond in the rough, but Patrick as a compliment? Yes. As a solution? Ha! It would be like covering a volcano with duct tape. And don't forget this key fact, Patrick only played 34% of the snaps in Detroit. Yes, 34%. Do you think a 31-year-old guy with that medical history can handle 60% of the snaps in Chicago? Let's be realistic. If they bring him in, it should be as a specialist, third down, red zone, but never as the main plan. Listen up, Bears Nation, if Ryan Poles loses Allen and thinks Patrick is the answer, he's wrong. But if he signs him as a WR3 while looking for a star in the draft or signing a top free agent, then it's a brilliant depth move. The dangerous part would be depending on him. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you support the Bears signing Tim Patrick as a direct replacement for Keenan Allen? Or do you demand that Poles spend whatever it takes on a big name to give Caleb Williams a fearsome weapon? Comment your strategy right now. Do you prefer to save with a veteran who knows the system or take a risk on young talent? TJ Edwards just finished a 2024 season that should be studied. A linebacker with 129 tackles, 4 sacks, and leadership in a dismantled team? That's purity in the midst of chaos. But let's not fool ourselves. What good is a lone hero in a broken defense? The numbers scream: 129 total tackles, 12 behind the line, 2 fumble recoveries. He even made an interception. Edwards was a whirlwind, yes, but look at the context. Chicago's defense allowed nearly 25 points per game. Do you think individual tackles save a sinking ship? No! Edwards plugged holes, but the ship remained full of leaks. Let's talk about the contract. $7 million in 2025 for a player of this caliber. Did you know that's almost half the average salary of a starting linebacker? This is armed robbery, but beware, free agency looms. In 2025, Edwards will turn 30, and if he repeats these numbers, will Ryan Poles have to pay him $12 or $15 million? The risk of waiting is brutal. Here's a detail in 01 once TOC, 79 of his 129 tackles were solo. More than 60%. That's not just effort, it's distrust in teammates. Edwards didn't wait for help. He made tackle after tackle because he knew that if he didn't, no one else would. Is that leadership or desperation? And let's not ignore the obvious, his 4 sacks. A linebacker making pressure like a defensive end? Of course! Because Chicago's defensive line wasn't up to par. Edwards had to reinvent himself as a pass rusher, and he did well. But I repeat, is this virtue or a symptom of a defective system? The big question, Dennis Allen maintains the 4-3 scheme. Edwards fits, but what about the rest? If the defensive front doesn't improve, if reinforcements don't arrive, Edwards will continue to be a martyr, applauded for his courage, but condemned by collective failure. Now, the question that will define the future, do they extend Edwards now, securing a leader at a low cost? Or do they risk that in 2025, after another crazy season, he demands $1 million contract that the Bears cannot afford? Bears community, I want to hear your strategies. Tie down your warrior now or play with fire by waiting another year? Comment with rage, with passion, but above all with the truth. Do you think Ryan Poles has lost his mind or has just found the secret to dominate the NFC North? We're talking about Aaron Jones, the same man who tortured them for years with the Packers, and who could now wear blue and orange. Epic betrayal or masterstroke? Let's get to the bottom of this madness. Aaron Jones, for 1,000-yard seasons. The guy who stole their soul at Lambeau over and over. And now, do they intend to make him a Bear? Are we crazy or is this pure genius? Here's the hard fact. In 12 games against Chicago, Jones averaged 5.1 yards per carry and 8 touchdowns. He's an executioner. And now they want him to be one of OURS? The irony burns. But let's analyze with a cool head. Ben Johnson arrives with his offense that revived Gibbs and Montgomery in Detroit. Now, imagine DeAndre Swift and Aaron Jones forming a nightmare combo. Swift as the speedster, Jones as the hammer? It worked in Green Bay with Jones and Dillon. But at 29 years old, does Jones still have gas left? Let me remind you, in 2024, he ran for 1,102 yards and 7 TDs. And that was in Minnesota, with a disastrous offensive line. Here's the key detail. Jones not only knows the division, he hates it. After Green Bay discarded him for Jacobs, and Minnesota didn't retain him, do you think he doesn't want revenge? Playing for Chicago, he would face Packers and Vikings twice a year. That's not motivation, it's pure rage. But beware, because the shadow of AGE is real. Jones will turn 30 in December, and RBs after 30 are like planes without engines. Do you really want to depend on him as a starter? Roscoe Johnson is still developing, but if Jones accepts a role of 12 to 15 carries per game, he could be the ACE up their sleeve. Now, the money issue. Jones earned $7 million in 2024, but with the RB market sunk, Chicago could sign him for $4 or $5 million. A steal? Yes. But why didn't Minnesota retain him? Because they're rebuilding. Chicago is not. The Bears want to win now, and Jones brings playoff experience. 17 games played in 2024. Durability? Proven. But don't give me fairy tales. Chicago's offensive line remains an unknown. If they don't open holes, neither Jones nor Swift will be useful. And here's the uncomfortable question. Would Ryan Poles invest in an old RB instead of fixing the line? That would be selfish. Signing Jones only works if the blocking improves. And don't forget the Caleb factor. Caleb Williams needs a running game that protects him. With Jones, he would have an RB who knows how to block, and in 2024, he allowed only 2 pressures in 73 pass snaps. That's brutal. But I repeat, what good is it if the tackles don't contain the defensive ends? I'll end with this. Aaron Jones in Chicago would be poetic, but dangerous. If it works, he's a genius. If it fails, Poles will be crucified. And now, I throw you the big question. Would you support the man who humiliated you for years joining the team, or do you prefer to invest in a young RB in the draft? First decisive question, do you think Tim Patrick is the ideal replacement for Keenan Allen? Or do you demand that the Bears invest in a high-caliber star receiver to maximize Caleb Williams' potential from day one? Your opinion could redefine the franchise's strategy. Second dilemma, should they extend TJ Edwards' contract now to secure a leader at a low cost, or risk that after another outstanding season, his value skyrockets and demands a salary that compromises the team's financial future? Time is of the essence. And the controversial question, would you accept Aaron Jones, the running back who has historically dominated the Bears with the Packers, joining the team, or do you prefer they bet on young talent in the draft? This deserves an unfiltered response. Share your passionate opinions in the comments. This channel would be nothing without your voice, which brings every debate to life. Want exclusive access to in-depth analysis, real-time news, and strategic discussions about the Bears' future? Subscribe now and become part of this family where every member defines the path to greatness. Until next time, where every decision counts and every fan is heard. We are more than a team, we are a legion.